Hey, good morning, everybody. Can you hear me up there?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. I don't hear you.
Morning.
Craig, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Great. So we have, the Zoom room has failed. All we have is the desktop computer. And so we've sent for help. For whatever reason, we can't hear you. Turned up the volume as far as I can.
Hey, I sent you a text.
All right, well, at least you guys can hear me, if not us. And hopefully help us.
Yeah, so look at that. I texted you a picture of what it looks like.
Morning, everybody. Right. An interesting morning. I got a note from Craig Ever that he had food poisoning and hoped it didn't affect quorum and wouldn't come this morning. And I said, that's great. And then I started looking for the key. I'm like, who has the key? Well, I kind of remember. There he is.
Greg had it?
Yeah, Greg had it. So I had to stop by his house. He's smiling and making funny faces.
Hey, Chris, you've got Zoom room connection on the laptop, on the, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so it's not, there's no internet here.
Now we're holding a Zoom meeting. We can see people, they can hear us.
Exactly. Yeah.
Who was up from the committees on Zoom?
Bud is on. Craig was on.
You got any draft plans, Jerry?
I saw Helen before.
Yeah, right. Right, well, they're starting, this is on the.
Ed Holland is on.
Mayor Bell. I'm sure I have them wrong. Yeah, finally, that's what it says. What I remember was just a nice drive, short of time. And that goes to the hard there, college and always my example. There will be hours. But that's changed at all. Very nice he was. I don't think I put on chains and. 20 years. That long ago, it said, you know, it's like, it's like, without the cash, you would have had little speeches, and, yeah. That's been really great music. Yeah, right, so they were, sometimes. I was looking at a small, more civilized, it sounds like you should start.
Yeah, I'm starting as soon as, I spent all my time trying to get it to work as opposed to pull out the agenda, so it's
Yeah, no worries, I just wanna let.
2 more seconds and we will have a meeting.
Or we're looking into it, gotta get a whole position in the post about a sitting room. So.
There you go.
You notice it's a connectivity problem, but that's as far as it goes.
Okay. Again, apologies to the people in the audience. Hopefully you can at least hear me. And sometime soon we'll try and get the overall meeting to have audio and video. Let us then call the meeting to order. It's 8:05. Excellent. And let's do a roll call. Kimberly is not here today. Lynn.
Here.
Craig, wave, there you go. Craig is here by Zoom. Dale. Not here. Marianne. Not here. Chris, here I am. Ray.
Yeah.
Good morning. Jerry.
Here.
Good morning. Vic.
Here.
Great. Bud, I saw you on there. There we go, by Zoom. and Randy. Present, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have a quorum. We just have a quorum. Excellent. We went from having an overview to just making it. Excellent. Item number 3. Any oral communications for items not on the agenda?
And I can make a better one about.
I do have an oral communication, although given that the rest of the committee in the room can't hear me, it may not be the opportune time to do so. Curious for others on Zoom to give thoughts.
Problems with the communications and the IT, even just for our meetings.
Hey, Chris or Charles, I can hear you, but I don't think they can hear us.
Okay. What do you suggest here, Greg?
I think if you have a summary of what you want to say, to send it to EPC.
Send it to the email address?
Yeah, I would do that.
Okay.
Yes. And if you need something else, I think my email may be out there.
Synthesize.
So
pull out key information.
Yeah, I'm trying to listen to the meeting now, so that's what I would recommend. Sorry for the inconvenience. It's been a crazy morning.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charles.
With using AI to do that, and then solve these technical problems, I'd be happy to volunteer in that next thing. Hours to helping them, but because it's such a persistent issue, and it's, you know, my concern is that these both public perception, but then also
Maybe the other idea could be if they do get their tech issues sorted, we can defer communications to later on in the session.
Yeah, that's a good idea. You know, another thought, I don't know whether chat is recorded, but you could make a note of it in the chat section.
I see it being disabled right now. Perhaps that's just for me.
Yeah,
just minimal work on part of chairs.
Yes, it is disabled. Oh, well.
What you try to think. So.
All right. So I don't know if you guys could hear us in the audience. The comment was basically perhaps suggest that chairs of committees just keep a regular log of the troubles we have with communication to be helpful, not to be complaining, to be helpful, and possibly use some AI to help digest all that information and help them figure out the root causes, because it does happen a lot. I will note that there is a new instruction sheet that I've not seen before sitting here, and it's slightly different from before. So I assume the system was revamped probably in an effort to help. And it probably caused one small link somewhere to break. That's all it takes. So I'm going to turn to Ray and say, I think this is a perfect example of a system that's too complicated when you're in an emergency. And just like we were talking about how to get the AM radio onto the internet, complicated systems just don't hold up, especially under high pressure situations. And so I really like the solution you guys have come up with. We could talk about that.
Yeah.
All right. Any other comments or communications? Charles, who's online, wants to make a comment. All right, Charles, I can't hear you.
Maybe I can actually.
Does someone have a laptop they could log into the meeting and turn up their audio so we could hear Charles?
Try.
Hang on, Charles. We're working on it.
Thank you.
Hold your thought while we do that. Mark,
Meeting is being recorded. Audio.
Mark, I thought you and I chatted the other day. There's something you wanted to bring up. But now we have feedback.
I've turned my volume off, but the microphone is on.
Okay, so we should be able to hear Charles?
All right, wonderful. Can you hear me?
No,
No, we don't hear Charles.
I have to be off mute for you to hear.
Just turn up mute your audio, but and turn your volume. Turn your mic off.
Okay, mic's off.
That should do it.
How's this working?
No, you can actually speak to my ear.
Try turning off the button.
Testing.
Huh, why do we have?
I heard myself. How does this work?
All right. Charles, I'm sorry, it's not gonna work. Maybe you could, can you put a message in the chat?
I think the Zoom chat is locked right now.
Of course it is.
I could potentially email the address and have someone else can read it out that's in the room.
Hold on.
Yeah, actually, you know what? Keep your voice nice and low and steady, and we'll try and listen. Go ahead.
Hey, Chris, is your laptop?
What's that?
Your
I think the idea is to turn off the mic in the meeting room and just use the one in the laptop, the whole audio system in the laptop. That might be the right thing.
I agree with Charles.
As far as I know, we turned off everything. Let's try one more thing.
Problems, there's too many lines.
What a waste of time, man.
Where's the monkeys? Just push it.
Hey, Charles,
Possible.
while they are trying to debug this, can you give me just a brief overview of your comment? And I might be able to just relay that at some point. So if you're comfortable doing that.
We
Yeah.
had it fixed. Go ahead and make your comment.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Good morning, members of the Emergency Preparedness Committee. I'm Charles Afferoni. I'd like to address the committee regarding the old Alpine Road Bridge. This is located off Creek Park Drive next to the Alpine Hills Club. This is a single lane bridge that connects Alpine Road at Creek Park to a Rastradero Road near the Zotz parking lot. And it's currently in poor condition. Some of you may not be familiar with this bridge, but it represents both a vulnerability and an opportunity in our emergency planning. Our current 2024 evacuation plan identifies that we have limited routes out of town and warns about dangerous pinch points. This bridge exemplifies both issues. Let's imagine Alpine Road gets blocked at Golden Oak by a fallen tree or a landslide. Our evacuation options narrow significantly. This bridge could provide an alternate route down out either Rastradero or back up Alpine around a blockage. But currently, its single lane width would create the exact type of bottleneck that our plan seeks to avoid. Additionally, it's been classed as no Type 1 fire access, meaning that standard fire trucks cannot cross. This limits our defensive options when fires occur in the western Rastradero Preserve. This bridge is currently the closest access point to that area of the Rastradero Preserve. And of course, we've seen multiple grass fires there in recent years. Our fire chief has explained that without truck access across this bridge, they must treat areas beyond it as essentially unreachable for suppression efforts. This means that we're missing an opportunity to defend fires from Rastradero before they reach Portola Valley neighborhoods. The good news is that we do have a solution ready. After 5 years of work between local neighbors in the area, we have approved permits, completed engineering, and environmental clearances for a 2-lane replacement bridge that meets all fire codes. My family owns land under the bridge. We're prepared to donate it to the town along with approved plans and contribute significant funding, as well as helping to organize funding from the broader community. Several neighbors have also expressed a willingness to contribute, and the project is genuinely shovel ready. I plan to request that the town council formally recognize this bridge replacement as a community benefit, which would enable grant applications and community fundraising through the Portola Valley Fund or other vehicles. Your endorsement as the Emergency Preparedness Committee would be very valuable, not because this is an emergency, but because it's smart planning that addresses specific vulnerabilities that your committee has already identified in our evacuation plan. I hope these comments can help open a dialogue with the committee on how to close this preparedness gap for our town. And I welcome any questions or input that you have either now or at a future time. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that comment. We have to literally turn off the speaker while we use the microphone here, so bear with us. Thank you. I guess thank you for bringing that to our attention. It's something I was unaware of. I'm looking around the committee, and I think everyone, Ray will want to make a comment here in a second. And you probably, if you've been listening or participating in our meetings, you'll know that evacuation is one of our highest priorities. So I think we will incorporate that into our thinking. And I don't know what else we can do today, but thank you for bringing that up. And I do want to open a comment here because I think Ray wants to make one.
Just real quick, thank you, Charles, very much. 5 years, amazing, a lot of money, I'm sure. Here we are. Is there something to drop? Is there a package that's going to the town or something? I'm just thinking about timing. I mean, do you need us to do something today or next meeting, or just what's the timing for whatever it's action you're taking?
All right, hold on, turn your volume back on so we can hear him.
Yeah, I do plan to send a letter to the town council around this, in the coming weeks. And so I don't necessarily know if any action needs to be taken by the committee today, but if perhaps there could be, a subcommittee, a small group of committee members that's interested, I'd be happy to work with them further and, fully apprise them of the situation. And then potentially together, when I reach out to the town, we can, discuss the subcommittee's view on this project as well.
Okay, Charles. Again, thank you very much. And yeah, we will, I mean, at the very least, we will bring it up with our liaison so they're aware. In fact, our liaison is in the audience and waiting, so she is aware. I don't know if she wants to make a comment or not, but I think right now for an unscheduled agenda item. Oh wait, she's coming up, so I think if you want to talk, Helen, you got to come over here and talk into this.
This is not.
Can you hear Helen right now?
Oh, good.
You can hear Helen?
Great, okay. Helen Walter, council member for the town of Queen. I did wanna make sure, I didn't catch the speaker's name, so hopefully we have that.
Charles Safferty.
Okay, great, thank you. I do wanna make sure that you are aware that the town council approved 2 weeks ago, I think. The PB fund, so we now have a donation mechanism, a nonprofit in town that people could donate to. Obviously this is not agendized. I'm not personally familiar with the site, but we do need to make sure that ingress and egress for emergency purposes is safe, and that I appreciate the offer of donation, and I look forward to learning more about the project. Thank you.
You would ask him whether he knows if it's in San Jose County.
Right.
Right, if it's, I mean, according to this map, it's off San Jose. You might know better.
We do have the question because of the creek, there is the county boundary between San Mateo County and Santa Clara County. And so we are curious, and we will need to know if the creek, if the site is in San Mateo County or Santa Clara County. Because that will jurisdictionally make some differences about improving the site and who would be working on it. So we do need to figure out which side, usually, usually it's, the center of the creek line is the actual division between two, jurisdictions. So it can be complicated with bridges. So, thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy to
Hold on,
address.
Charles, I see, Ray, can you turn the volume back on so we can hear Charles and make this the last comment? We have to move on.
Yes, I can confirm the bridge is fully in Portola Valley, and I've been working with the town. The town is the primary jurisdiction that has provided permits for the updated bridge. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to working further with the committee.
Thank you.
Will we turn it back on?
No, we're sorry, we had mute going so that we didn't get the echo. There's just a discussion going on, Charles, mostly about what the most effective way to communicate, and I think the answer is the subcommittee of the Emergency Preparedness Committee is gonna reach out to you. So that's how we'll do it.
Randy, my comment, if it comes to council, my guess is the council discussing it and probably ask you guys to look into the probable thing, but.
Yeah, I just like off the top of your head, if there's anything we can think of,
Yeah, I think between now and then, without seeing the proposal, I'm not sure what we're gonna do, but I think it's starting to see the proposal, then I think we can. Yes, yeah. Okay.
Okay, well,
They say one more thing.
Sure.
I'll say this, so Charles, here.
one more thing, other comment from Helen Walter.
The budget, we'll be finalizing the budget short, within the next few weeks, so that, and we did look at CIP, capital improvement projects, last week. So the earlier that this gets into council, if we want it for the next year, right, it might, it's probably, it's hard to, it has, because to get it on the agenda, so that's gonna be tricky, so, but, to do the donation and get that rolling, so that, that kind of thing can happen. Again, it is PD Fund who is doing donations, so, to help with this matter, and they're not constrained by agenda items being an item touch, so. Although they do ask for council direction for donations. Hopefully that makes sense.
Great, I hope you all heard that. And I think time to move on. Thank you. Okay,
Greg, is this gonna be on the agenda next month,
Chris, you mean?
this item?
Yes.
Okay, and we'll have a.
Well, let's find out. Hopefully the subcommittee will be able to talk to Charles in the meantime. And then it'll bubble up and we'll put it in the agenda. That sounds like the right answer. That's a long 3 minutes for an unagendized item, but it was very worthwhile.
So we have, give out the email address, EPC, the EPC email address, so that Charles can write us an email so we can make the connection.
I don't know the EPC email address.
If that fails, Charles, my personal email address is randytrue@gmail.com. So email me there, but we do have I think it's a little bit strange.
I'll make sure we get it done with Charles.
Okay.
Yeah. Wait.
Chris, try the controller and see if you have any.
I'm the controller. We're gonna do one more attempt to see if we can join the room. We have some technical help. Stand by. The wheel is spinning. Information is being requested. What an interesting meeting. Same error code 5003. Same error code as before. Sorry, everybody. I hope the audience is at least reasonably amused. Okay, it's okay. I think we had a pretty light agenda today, so spending some time on that is okay. If there's no other oral communications,
We should approve the minute.
that's coming. Right?
No,
Is it not on the agenda?
no.
All right, well,
Will the work put into those minutes, right?
Yeah.
all right, let's go ahead, add that as a agenda item here. It's just an obvious oversight. Any comments on the minutes? I guess first we should have a motion to approve them.
So move.
Go ahead and second. All right, any discussion, amendments, anything? All right, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. Minutes unanimously approved. Thank you for bringing my mistake to our attention here.
Globally.
No, I meant that literally. It sounded sarcastic, but thank you. Okay, next Kim and I had some feedback. We did have a meeting with the town manager. Mark Linder met with us. Gave us a lot of his time, met in his office, and the feedback is that he was going to talk to the town engineer about getting the signs installed. And I got a further update from that coming later. And on the proposal to put in a separate IT line for the AM radio, because the alternative proposal that we've come up with was a very complicated one that required like cloud machines, et cetera. As we just discussed, complicated things don't work when you need them in an emergency. We proposed that we really do need to just bring in a separate internet line, be it Comcast, AT&T, whatever it is. And that at least 2 members of this committee are prepared to donate $2,000, which will cover 3 years of operating costs of that. And Mark Linder gave that the thumbs up.
Good.
So I believe, and Ray, I copied you on the last email, I believe he's given instructions to Stepford to do that.
He
But
said he was going to.
if I were you, I would read, since you have a relationship with Stepford.
I do, and also I prepared a spec sheet.
I saw that.
That he could forward that, or I'll forward it to Stepford or simultaneously, that way you know exactly what to do. It would be great, and this is just thinking through the complication, it would be great if this router from Comcast or whomever the provider is, to be located in the AM radio group. That will eliminate probably at least 2 connections and additional cost.
2 connections that-
UPS.
Right, 2 connections.
Because if it comes into the normal place, there's all kinds of, it's locked up in the closet, it's just all kinds.
You've been working directly with Stepford. My advice is reach out to Stepford, tell them
Okay,
all those things. We have fundamental approval from the town manager to do it.
Okay.
Let's
I'll do that.
do it the best way it can be done.
Ray, did you consider Starlink for this instead of Comcast and Gig?
That's what we tried to do.
That's the trouble.
Get a network, it requires IPv6, and they don't allow direct port forward on the network. So you have to go through a cloud server somewhere, and 2 VPNs go into that, so there's at least 4 or 5 more connections. It's very common.
So some trade-offs.
That's hardly a trickle.
There's a technical discussion going on about what the IT issue was. I'm just keeping
Yeah, sure.
the audience informed. Okay, we did discuss the goals. Which again, Mark bought into. He's been a supporter all the way along and reaffirmed that he thought those were the right things for us to be working on. And in terms of, very specifically the EOC and that plan, he suggested that we actually make some progress first, possibly some workshops, and then comment, but he was not wedded in his mind either to a EOC staffed by town staff or by volunteers. But we do have further update to that, which is the next agenda item that we have had a subsequent meeting. But I just wanted to report that we did get a lot of Mark's time. He was very supportive of both of our overall goals and the specific things we asked for. He approved them all, in fact. He said for the safety element, he's looking at an umbrella safety committee. And we should hear something about that coming up. Also, in terms of timeline on the new EOP, he thought the outline at the time was very strong, but that probably realistically, that's a year-long kind of project. Probably won't finish an EOP, EOC in this calendar year, but I don't know. We have a lot of experts, a lot of people who were at the subsequent meeting are also in the room. Unfortunately, Kim is not here today. But I think unless anyone has any questions about that meeting with Mark, I really just want to report strong support. We approved what we asked for and validated our way forward goals.
Chris, could you just explain again what his comment was about the EOC? He needs to think about it more, he needs to do something.
Basically, in that meeting, and Kim Cashin was there. I don't know if the audience all knows, but the newest member of the EPC, Kimberly Cashin, is an expert. She actually has a consulting business around safety and emergency preparedness. She's helped the city of San Francisco and various other municipalities in California put together their plans. So she presented a draft outline of what she thought was an appropriate plan, and Mark endorsed it heartily. But said, look, I mean, before I can really say much more besides looks really good and quote unquote, go for it. Two things, right? You're gonna have to flesh it out a little bit more. And two, he just cautioned that from his experience, he didn't expect this to finish with less than a year's time. Since we're talking about it kind of in the middle of the year, it probably would spill over into next calendar year. That makes sense, Jerry?
Yeah, if this means for the in year 6 of not having an EOC.
Well, maybe we can do better, right? I mean, I think he was providing wisdom, not
Yeah.
guidance. We can do faster. So if it's all right with everybody, I would suggest we move on to the next action item, which is supposed to be him reporting on the feedback from a subsequent meeting, but again, Kim's not here today. Maybe I can do a summary, but also in the follow-up meeting that we had, our fire marshal was there. And don't remember, were either of our council representatives there? No, it's fire chief, fire marshal, me, and Kim. Okay, so I will do my best to give a quick update. I'm moving on to item number 5.
Real quick, what's the easiest way to find the final copy of that EOP draft?
I think the easiest way is probably just to ask for it. I don't think we posted it.
Oh, it was in the packet.
Right,
Oh,
no, it's not in the packet.
It's a subcommittee. But there's a group of,
Yeah, I mean, we're happy to share it, but it's a very early work in progress. Our goal was to get approval and get direction, and then obviously it'll come back to the whole subcommittee. All right. So that the subsequent meeting now on at item number 5, as I said, fire marshal, fire chief, myself and Kim were there. And I think the outcome, which I really personally really liked, was a highly simplified EOP and EOC staffing plan. I think it had, if I remember right, 4 or 5 people in total recommended. And most of them were the experts. So in other words, the town manager was required. And then the EOC director, although they're probably even the same person, so that could shrink down from 2 to 1. There would be a fire representative who's not a town employee, but a fire person, a public works person, a public info person, and a law person. And that apparently is adequate and similar to what other small jurisdictions do. There was a strong sense that as much as we embrace the volunteer attitude and culture of the town, it probably does have to be professional staff. And you can build it from there. They could call in all the volunteers they want. We could have sort of a call tree, so to speak. And whoever those people are would call us in. Even the concept of, the finance function, it doesn't have to be a finance person. That's a duty. All of these things, you think of them as duties as opposed to people. So you can put that responsibility into single individuals. There was a lot of discussion about volunteers from the EPC willing to be part of that, how we might integrate CERT into that. And I think, and I'm looking at the fire marshal now for validation. What I heard in that meeting from a professional's point of view does this and has done it in various jurisdictions. It's quote unquote just too messy to formally staff the EOC with volunteers. It has to be town staff. And then from there, the town staff would call on any of us, including CERT, to augment. And we are There will be a section, the anticipation is there'll be a section in the new AOP on how CERT integrates. And where we are in terms of producing a product. Kim is working on it in a sort of 2-week deadline to flesh it out. It will go back to that core committee, which was her, the fire chief, fire marshal. If we all like it, right after that, we would like to hand it to our council liaison, the subcommittee, essentially from the town council. And probably bring it back to Mark, kind of get a broader buy-in. And I would say, I'm gonna stop there. If anyone has any questions or if Kim wants to say anything, augment what I'm reporting. No, getting a thumbs up from fire marshal. Any questions?
Just a time frame. Anything in terms of what the hope for timeline would be to try and get it to the next stage?
Like I said, we're having a meeting. We actually did a doodle poll on it yesterday, but we're aiming for the 12th or 13th to have that follow-up meeting.
Right.
And then, so I think the subcommittee will see it before the next meeting and possibly we'll get a shot at it in our next.
At the next
meeting. So it's being diligently worked on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm not gonna make any comment on whether I think it's gonna take a year or not. I'm only reporting that the wisdom of our town managers, probably. Right.
Yeah, but he's not used to Ken.
Yeah, no, I'm not, none of us are used to Kim. Kim is an expert. Okay, is anybody in the audience got a comment or a question? I can't hear you anyway, so if you do, say that you do, and Craig will send me a text. And I'll pay attention. I'm checking my text right now. No, but I do see that I have a haircut appointment. Okay. That's supposed to be humor, but it's also true. Okay, I'm moving on to item number 6, which is update from Woodside Fire, if there is any. Okay. So we have Fire Marshal Giuliacci at the podium. Hopefully you guys can hear.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Sorry the chief cannot be here today. There's got a lot going on in the district. He just wanted to, 2 things he wanted me to touch on. Is just to let everybody know, if you haven't seen already, which I think has been strategically well done. This month, we have been focusing on wildland fire training. It's going on across the street, on this side of the street. Yes, it's happening on this side of the street. The Morrishead Field is one of the evolutions. And then going up into the neighborhood of Santa Maria for some structure triaging. So we've got a few areas where we have crews coming in from Redwood City Fire, Menlo Park Fire, since they are our adjoining jurisdictions and we do a lot of work with them. If we have these type of calls, we also train with them. So this week's focus has been on wildland drill training. So you'll see them out and about with meetings. Second thing is we want everyone to know that we finally have launched our drone program as of June 1st. So we have built the entire infrastructure for having drones now for various needs. And one is now on the battalion chief's buggy that is kept there at all times now for flights when necessary, for seeing and being able to outlook scenes. We're going to be soon utilizing them in prevention for inspections. So it's great. We're on a great path for our technology with the utilization of drones. From prevention, I wanted to just let this committee know and just trying to get the word out more because we look for so many different ways on how we can communicate to the public and to our community members. With all the California wildfires we've had, with the studies that have been done in conjunction with our ordinances that we now have in place, we're getting through the home assessments. Obviously, we have not completed the whole district yet, but I wanted to put a strong reminder out, and the education we're putting out is the fuel mitigation, fuel reduction, that is going to be a year-round requirement. So meaning dead, dry, hazardous vegetation will be required to be removed and maintained year-round. It's not going to be a seasonal thing. We've seen that most of the devastating fires aren't even during fire season, it's more like, September, October-ish through January, February. And, it does mean, it goes to show Palisades Eaton Fire, all the fires we had in January alone in Southern California is just another testament of saying the season is all the time. So we wanted to remind people of that. We will be, pushing out that education, but we will be leaving notices of violations as we come through, especially if if people have properties on the right of ways, because when we're out driving around, we can see the right of ways. We'll be leaving notices of violations to make sure that people are on top of it and keeping up with it. We know we're in transition and this is kind of new for a lot of people, so we are working with residents. There isn't anything punitive right now saying, hey, if you don't do these. The notice does give 10 days, but the 10 days is more for action to be taken or to communicate with us. We just want to make sure it's getting done. Last year, we saw way too many properties that weren't doing anything, and we really don't know why, because we live in right of ways and the roads and the edge of your properties, that's been forever. From what I've been told here from people who've been part of Woodside Fire for years, it's always been something, you always have to cut down all your dry weeds and grasses and stuff. So this is just a reminder that that's something that we're really pushing towards. Going into the home assessments, still challenging. A lot of Portola Valley residents want to know when we're going to start in Portola Valley. I imagine that it won't be for at least another 4-ish months, maybe even 5 until we're done with Woodside. We're still working on the 4 zones in Woodside currently. Ladera came up with this idea because they were preparing for when we do come to the Portola Valley area, and I really liked it. It's something that I'm working with Woodside residents, especially in easy ways through our Firewise leaders. It's basically to organize neighborhoods and get streets together of saying the fire department's coming to do your home assessments on the week of June 5th, whatever. And they'll be coming to your house. Because our biggest challenge is people just aren't home when we come. So we can't do those assessments. And we leave door hangers, but most people aren't calling us. So we're looking at the assistance with residents to come together and help us get these assessments done so we can get through the district. We are working with the town because with their budget coming up for adoption. I met with the town manager, their new engineer, and their finance person to discuss budget for this upcoming year on for the fuel mitigation contract that they contract to Woodside Fire to do the right-of-way work, the parcels, the properties that they own to do mitigation work on there, and for gate maintenance. And so in that meeting, in seeing how we can best support the town with the budgets and the constraints that they have, we are working on how impacts would be with different days. So, if we have done 104 days in the past, that's how many days we dedicate to the town of Portola Valley to do this work, and how it would impact doing 80 days, 70 days, 60 days, and 50 days, just so the town can make a good decision, a better decision on what the implications would be if we were to reduce the number of days of work. With that, I'd like to bring up that the most recent fire we had, the Cervantes fire, there was a great write-up that MJ Lee and Lori Duval worked on with getting some information from us. They did a great write-up on that. And what really helped that fire is just a testament on the work that gets done. But right-of-way work was done in that area, Cervantes Road specifically, back in 2021 and 2022. It was the fire district did a huge clearing of laddering and clearing fuels there that had been way overgrown for many years, back when we started the program in 2019. And that alone helped contain and mitigate that fire to keep it from getting any larger than what it did. So it's just a testament on why it's important, the right-of-way work that we do, and also in conjunction with residents keeping up with the work that they do when their properties butt up to streets. And I bring this up to this committee, because your emergency preparedness, evacuation routes are super important because we're so limited. Our streets are limited. We have one ways in, one ways out. We have narrow roads. So the maintenance of our roads are really, really important because we want to make sure that everybody can get out. And we also want to make sure that the fire's not jumping across the roads, because that's what's going to move it onto the next neighborhood and the next community. So that mitigation work is important. As far as large properties, so this goes with our parks, Stanford Lands, Mid-Penn. We are working with them. One of my initiatives for this year was to work with them and making sure they're also doing their part and their responsibility. They are just as responsible and held accountable, just like all residents. So right now, we've been meeting with them and having discussions on what their vegetation management plan looks like. And then how our ordinance will run in conjunction with them and the requirements for their mitigation work. Update on our GIS maps. I have been working with our GIS people to create maps that have multiple layers so that people can be posted on our website. And anybody can put in their address, and if they want to know about Firewise communities that are in their area, if they want to know if their inspection zone is coming up, if they want to know, just a lot of different layers of information that we want to put together, and it's gonna be available to all residents. So we're almost getting close to that being finalized, which will be nice. And, you can pick and choose what you want to see with those layers. We just completed, on Tuesday, I just did a presentation in partnership with the Conservation Committee. It was a very well put together presentation. I was really happy with the outcome and the attendance. It was basically a balance between fire smart landscaping and wildfire preservation and wildlife preservation. And so it was giving people, residents, how to be in compliance with our ordinance, but also still to be good stewards of our land, to still conserve our land, our habitats, our vegetation. And essentially, the end goal is how and what we need to do to get back to what our native lands did look like before it became where it is now. We took history looking back 60, 70 years ago, what the lands looked like, and they look nothing the way they do now. But they would be in a more fire, I guess the vulnerability would be a lot less looking at the way it was before, and that's the way it was made to be. So that's kind of the goal, and that's gonna just take time, but that is the end goal, is to get back to that so that we can be better protected from wildfires when one comes through. I have coming up this month, while the Wildfire Preparedness Committee, I'm doing a presentation on wildfire preparedness and lessons learned, taking some of our fires that we've had in the past and what works, and why the studies have shown what they do, and why our ordinance requires things, and why the fire department is making specific recommendations for hardening your homes in defensible space. So that's coming up this month. Whatever the third Wednesday of the month is, I can't think of that date, but that's when it'll be. So we're hoping to get good attendance for that. Next, for this committee, I just wanted to get, it's not on the agenda, but I'm just throwing this idea out, and you can all contact me or email me. I just wanted to get some ideas before I do a presentation to the town council. I'd like to propose the fire district to be given the ability or permission to put up I'd like to start with 2 digital signs at each entrance of our district. Not the ones that like construction means, but actually nice small signs that are on a trailer so that we could move them around if we needed to. But basically it put up any messaging, important messaging that we want to get word out to the residents. I've tried to wrap my brain on different ways of connecting to residents. We've done social media, we have our website, we're trying to get people to subscribe to our newsletters. And mailers just don't work that well. So I figured if something is on the street and in people's faces as they're driving, we can put important information up as needed. And we can change that messaging when needed as well. So just wanted to throw that out as an idea. Wanted to get some feedback from this committee and then see what you have to say, and then make that proposal to the town council. I'm doing it for both town councils.
Great, if you can hear me, I think that's a great idea, and if they need BPC.
Next, on chipping, that's been a thing coming out, so we have been doing all our chipping's been going pretty well. We had some issues with our iPad, so it has led to some piles being missed.
Yeah, this is Craig. I'll follow up with you after the
So we
meeting.
apologize for
Couldn't
that,
quite,
and
hear
but
what
we
you
do
were
go back and
talking
pick them
about,
up,
so
so
we'll
people
follow
just
up
let
with
us
the
know, hey,
meeting.
you missed it, and we can go back and pick them up. But the biggest thing I wanted to let residents know, and please get the word out. There's residents, I had a call from one of the Firewise leaders for the Westridge area, because, and when we did drive through, we started to see a lot of chipping piles. It's fine if it's on their property because they're preparing, but not on the street. We don't want any chipping piles on the street, and their chipping isn't until July. So that's a long time from now. We don't want to increase the fuel loads on our streets, on our evacuation routes. So if we do see these, we are going to leave notices of violation, and these will be enforced. We will be forced to remove them. We are really cracking down and making presence on our violations because it's a huge concern and important to us. We want to make sure that people are complying. And I think people are becoming more aware, so not that we're not gonna work with residents, but we wanna make sure, we want people to know, you need to do we're putting more accountability on your responsibilities. From Epic, the last thing I'm just gonna bring up, because I want to update everybody on communications, because communication is always a big thing for emergency preparedness, especially during, whether it's storms going, it was a bad storm that's happening, power's going out, earthquakes, wildfire, whatever type of event that's going on. It's a constant, it's been a ever evolving work that we've been doing for communications. There's a communicator role class. It's going to be on June 10th, 6:30 to 9:30 at Station 19. This is the role that we've been trying to bridge gaps between fire department to CERT to residents. This communicator role would be someone who would be in the community and part of their job, no professional training or anything. This class would explain everything. But it's basically kind of like a communication hub person. So if power does go out, residents are able to reach out to this person, whether it's walking to their house if they have no cell phone and saying, hey, this is my emergency, whatever it is. And then they can get that radio. They can first use their phone if they have cell signal and call out to 911. But if that fails, they can communicate through radio to CERT. So that CERT, one of the CERT leaders can communicate back to the fire department and we can address those situations. So this role is crucially important. It's kind of what's bridging that gap between residents and CERT, the fire department. So that class is coming up on June 10th. And that's all I have to report on. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Any questions, comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to raise the question again of the education of the residents on the value of these assessments being made. And whether any progress has been made, any steps have been taken to further educate them so there is more cooperation from the residents in these kinds of assessments.
That's been one of the biggest efforts with doing all these presentations that I keep doing, and they are posted on our website, the slide decks. We just created a YouTube channel, so we are starting to record all the presentations so that they can be available. We're making them into a YouTube video and posting on our YouTube channel to try and get that education out. So we are starting that because, flyers, brochures, that only gets so far. So we're hoping with this are people watching things live, and if they miss the presentations, they have it accessible, and we're hoping that that's going to help push that initiative forward.
Has there been any effort to get that on the Portola Valley Network itself, that's in the community?
Do you mean like the forum?
That's a forum, exactly.
Yes, that's been posted there. MJ helps a lot with that. Elizabeth here, yeah, but we do post information on the forum a lot.
Yeah, and the second, lastly, any further update on the planned fire evacuation exercise with respect to starting to get the residents aware that this is being planned for next year? What's kind of the time frame for that?
We have not started that, but yes, that is on my list to get done. So hopefully, I'm hoping within like July-ish, we'll start getting that information out there. I didn't want, one thing is, it's been really hectic for us, but I didn't want to put it too far ahead, because people forget.
Right.
So, I'm thinking July is when we're gonna start just throwing those messages out, but again, that having some kind of boards and signs out in the district helps put messaging out. That would be something, hey, where we could start, evacuation coming to the town, so, but that's being put together and we'll start pushing that out probably in July.
Okay, thank you.
Because we're planning for September. So sometime probably end of September is when we're looking at doing it.
I was doing the actual evacuation or
The
early? Okay, great, that's terrific.
Now, it's not gonna be, because I don't want people to think the entire town, it's only a piece of the town.
Right.
Because that would be the advance. But we'll move it around as we do them more frequently so that everybody has. And I also encourage residents and communities, you can always practice your evacuation, Ladera or Los Trancos, Ola Honda, a lot of communities, they just kind of organize themselves and do daytime and nighttime evacuation. So if you're so inclined, you can work with your community to do that.
Kim, I guess, why do residents need to be home for the home assessment? It's my understanding is mostly about defensible space and some other key items that could be assessed from outside. And did you consider having, maybe it's an initial assessment, but maybe it covers most of the most important things that could be done? Because I imagine that'll be a barrier for a lot of people scheduling that, and it probably, if the fire department was able to do some significant portion of the assessment without that. Even the residents could sign a release that you could be on my property or something like that. I imagine you thought about this.
That's the biggest thing is one, we need permission to be on the property, but we need to get to the back of the property and around the sides. Some pieces are gated, we can't get in. The ones that we can get in, we still need to cross a fence, get to the back, we need that permission. The second reason is because we want to walk with that homeowner and educate them and talk to them. This is new, the ordinance is new, people have a lot of confusion, there's still, information that's not completely accurate out there. We want to make sure that we're addressing their questions and giving them direction, before we just give them a report and go here. And then they're looking at this report saying, okay, what do I do with this? So those are the main reasons. We could do a windshield survey of just kind of looking, but we've done those before and it's not a good way of segueing people into assisting them and getting the work done.
Personally, I'd be happy to get fire department permission to walk all around the property. And then if there are major problems or anything significant that I could address, I'd love to hear about that. And that could be a way to connect with residents, particularly if some, contextual examples were given around the problems that you see, on the outside of the property, like, principal space, the example of recent incidents such as the tsunamis that need to be given, and that might get people's attention, and it could be a friendly way to offer, a constructive initial engagement, particularly people who are reluctant and not engaging, and it could be very low barrier for residents.
Yeah, and we would love to have residents that are just like you. The other hard part is without anybody home, we don't have a phone number, an email, or anything to communicate with people other than in person or sending them a letter, and that doesn't work because we've done a mail letter and we never hear from people. So those are some of the challenges of the past that we've learned from. So that's kind of why the face-to-face kind of thing seems to really get them to communicate, and we create that relationship too.
I just want to mention that certain of those communities that are organized, like our Golden Hills Preparedness Committee, which is about 35 families, we have lists of everybody's contact information, emergency information, whatever, which we would be happy to share. And I think there are other groups that have those now, Westridge and a few of the others. So I just want you to be aware that even getting that to you piecemeal, so you get started, we'd be happy to cooperate with you about that if you want our follow-up with you.
Yeah, that would be great. Thanks, Dick. Yeah, that would be super helpful.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
Sure.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we have subcommittee reports and we have to set a date. Our next meeting falls on July 3rd, which is unlikely. So let's do subcommittee reports, starting with Ray.
Yeah, let's quick, 3 items. One, June 28th. June 28th is Emergency Preparation Communications Day. It's also the Amateur Radio Field Day. It'll be happening at Station 8 for the fire department, starting at about 8:30 in the morning through 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Ed Holland is the captain for it, so those people who will participate. We had a good training session the other day with regard to the communication trailer, which is also at Station 8, so all good there. I just want to say that Mark Donald's here, but I'll just comment about how active and great the CERT activities are going, training and so forth. The PV Amateur Radio Club is very active, so we've got a lot of radio people, and it's growing out there, and it feels good. And then just comment on the AM radio, we'll get that fixed. You know, as soon as the circuit gets installed. But it is transmitting through Starlink, right now outbound through Starlink. It is also transmitting on the air. We recently had, at least at my house, 4 power outages, one for 20 hours. And we lost the internet AM radio because the town didn't have backup on the Starlink system, but the AM radio did transmit. The UPS there did continue to hold and work fine. So the radio, when power came back on, it came back up. So that's it.
Great, thank you for that report. Let me, since we can't hear Craig here, there's nothing new to report on the TIS signs except for what was discussed earlier, that the town manager is working with the town engineer to actually get them installed. And I also do want to point out and thank, there's some real nice generosity. There's 2 members of that team that are donating $500 to get that done. And, you know, there's 2 members of the communications team donating a couple thousand to get the AM radio stuff done. And I really appreciate that. And I wanted to call that out for everyone to hear. Dale is not here to give us an update on the evacuation. Vic, anything on neighborhood?
Nothing doing on outreach.
Nothing new on resident outreach. Dale's not here for the safety element. And Kim's not here in the EOPOC, but we spent a lot of time talking about that. So actually, I like the model a great deal. The subcommittees are off doing their thing and we come together here and kind of deal with the high level stuff. And I think that our next one is going to be a really good opportunity to look at the EOP and how the EOC falls into that. Bringing us to item 8. Next regular meeting falls on July 3rd. I think that's not the best day for a EOC meeting. I'm going to suggest this.
Two audit.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Wow. Is that intentional so that people won't show up?
It's double punishment. It's audit as well as in July.
I would suggest the simplest thing is delay by 1 week for July 10th. How do the committee members feel about that?
I'm not here.
You're not here that week.
You need to check availability.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think it works, but I need to go back and check my schedule.
Well, let's do, I'll send out a note, but I'll make that probably one of the primary proposals. I'll also check with the town on availability on the 3rd and on the 10th. I think with that brings us to the end. Sorry about the technical difficulties for everyone in the audience out there. I think we've managed our way through it.
Should be a standard apology.
Yeah, exactly. She just have a button that push that plays the apology.
Yeah, guys, that.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you at next month's on whatever day we hold it. Oh, yeah, we need a motion to
No.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting concluded. Take care.